First of all, congratulations on getting this far. You've made it, class of 2022. I'm so happy for you. Let's hear it again. As I think back over your journey of the last 2 years, your journey, our journey, could we ever have imagined it would turn out this way? That a series of Greek letters such as Omicron would chase us for over 2 years, that war would reappear in Europe, and the list goes on. Our life context has brought so many struggles, a yo-yo of emotions, from anxiety to fear to injustice and loss, frustration at what could have been, what should have been. My heart goes out to all of you and anyone you know that have experienced pain or loss throughout this unrelenting pandemic. And yet, as sure as morning brings light to the darkness, the past 2+ years have also spawned great things. Kindness, relationships, opportunity, innovation, heroic deeds, gratitude, love, optimism from the depths of despair. And your care and concern for the Darden community is what made it possible for Darden to be one of the only business schools to remain open during the entire 2021 academic year for in-person classes. And for that, I am very deeply appreciative. You know, in this tough context, some managed well and thrived, and others not so well. In my life, too. Even with similar circumstances. Why? Some may be bad luck, and perhaps some of it could be attributed to perspectivism, meaning that the same set of facts and context lead to a different perspective and conclusion. It happens all the time. Think of democracy, or what someone's view of right and wrong is, or how one person has a cheery outlook and their neighbor a bleak one. But perspective and frame of mind are a choice, a freedom we each have. But how do I get more of the great stuff on the teeter-totter of life? How is a really great question, and it has puzzled me a lot. So, despite, or perhaps triggered by my newly found distaste for Greek letters such as Omicron and Delta, I found myself thinking of the Greeks. At Delphi, the temple of Apollo's oracle had 2 words of wisdom: know thyself. But knowing thyself can be a challenge. We are each unique and have what the existentialists call facticity, elements of your life that you did not choose, such as when you were born, your country of origin, gender, race, and parents. But could there be an approach we could all use? To solve the problem, I went to Greece last summer with my wife. I did so because that's where Claire and I fell in love 34 years ago. And I was in need of some inspiration. So one of our first stops was to visit the university of one of history's wisest philosophers, Aristotle's Lyceum. It is now destroyed, as almost all the famous temples of Greece are. But it is clear to me that the ideas hatched there are powerful and that they endure. Perhaps their power is the reason Socrates was put to death, and Aristotle's apprentice Alexander went on to rule much of the world. Walking around those ruins, I pondered, know thyself, and considered that Aristotle might have added, have a meaningful life. I asked myself, what is my internal iOS, my personal operating system for the pursuit of knowledge about myself, about yourself? How do we learn? How do we be, well, a human being? I hope it is fair to say that you learned a lot here at Darden. Pretty sure I'm right at that. You put yourself out there in a new context with new people on new subjects in a new environment taught by professors you didn't know. You didn't control when you were cold called. You didn't control COVID. You didn't know if some of your classes would be hybrid or virtual. You tried new things. You succeeded. You failed. You embraced uncertainty. You observed. And you were given feedback, and so was I, about yourself. But you pursued knowledge. And in that pursuit, in those moments when you were stretched and tested and stressed, you learned. Thus, we learn about ourselves by trying new things, in new contexts, with new people, solving new personal and professional problems without perfect certainty. And then we observe ourselves and what happened. It is life like recursion. Recursion is a function which is a function of the previous step, like a Fibonacci sequence in which the next number is the sum of the previous two numbers. In other words, you learn from your past development and plug it into the next step. Try new things, observe the result, and see what can be learned for yourself, and then plug it into the next stage of your development. The learning output of the previous step is the learning input to your next step. Rinse, wash, repeat. Call it continuous improvement, call it a growth mindset, or just call it personal development. In this world, every setback is an opportunity to learn, and every challenge is a chance to improve. We don't only measure wins and losses or money, we more importantly see what we can learn from the feedback in the game of life and become a better version of ourselves every year. Lifelong learning. Learning like we did as children when we found that flow and didn't think about it. Walk on Escher's impossible staircase. While walking down, you might discover that you are actually walking up. Be. But how to be? What should I be? Here are 5 ways of being I urge you to consider. First, be a critical thinker. Like Rodin's famous Le Penseur statue, question your assumptions, ask questions, and have an alternate hypothesis. Wonder, for example, why am I getting this news feed from an AI algorithm? Define your terms. Ensure you understand how the people you're talking to define their terms. As Montaigne recommends, have angular vision to look at things from different perspectives. Our common humanity is much greater than we think. Notice what works and what doesn't. Seek excellence and good competition to increase your learning. There is good feedback in learning, in losses and mistakes, and in winning, but you need to see it. Second, be values-driven. As Martin Seligman calls them, find your signature strengths. They are you and part of knowing thyself. So discover them, find contexts of people and work in which to use those values, and be yourself. Not everyone's are the same. On the yellow brick road of life, the bricks are your values, and your signature strengths will guide you toward the unknown. Third, be bold and dream big and small. If we view stress as something to be minimized in life, we stop challenging ourselves and we stop growing. The biggest risk is often taking no risk at all. Pursuing dreams and projects is what actually makes life interesting. Whether or not you achieve exactly what you set out to do is important, but in the end, it's not what matters. But they are your dreams, and you are allowed to dream. Define your dreams carefully and base them more on your personal mission and less on extrinsic quantitative measures such as money or ranking or whatever else someone wants to put on you. The latter will be the result. It is a bit like the happiness paradox. The more you try to measure happiness, the less you are happy. 4, be aware of and beware of the tyranny of social comparison. Anxiety is a reaction to perceived loss. Think of FOMO, the fear of missing out. How much better does Instagram actually make you feel about your life? What are your perceptions and where do they come from? Where do your expectations for life come from? Have you ever noticed that the higher your expectations, the harder it is to be happy? Try gratitude instead. 5th, be good and generous. Ask yourself both, what is good enough? But also ask yourself, how much good is enough? This includes being generous of spirit and assuming positive intent. A meaningful life can come from being a responsible leader in the service of a good cause. Perhaps pursue your whys and your causes and callings thoughtfully. So in your pursuit of lifelong learning to know yourself, I give you these 5 ideas to program your personal operating system to improve your being. Be a critical thinker. Be values-driven. Be bold and dream big and small. Be aware and beware of this tyranny of social comparison. And be good and generous. You may be thinking, that's all nice, but how does it work with all the uncertainty that the world is dishing out to me right now? The answer might be on Netflix and Amazon Prime. I have a question for you. Did any of you stream a lot on Amazon Prime or Netflix during the COVID pandemic? I know I sure did. I never watch TV, but I have streamed more shows than ever in my life over the past 26 months, including South Park, Peaky Blinders, Call My Agent, and my kids occasionally turned on Temptation Island. But I found the Beatles documentary, Get Back, particularly instructive. I felt like I was literally able to watch Da Vinci paint the Mona Lisa as I watched McCartney and Lennon at work as the songs Let It Be and Get Back were created. It was messy, random, iterative, team-based, contextual, spontaneous, painful, non-linear, emotional, and absolutely brilliant. It drew on many of their past experiences. There was stress, pressure, and dynamics, but there was joy, pleasure, and flow as well. There were many failures. It was not perfect out of the gate. Things got cut. The people and their skills mattered, but they each brought something different to the party. I don't know why, but for some reason, I imagined that the songs were just penned in one sitting and they were perfect at the first go. Nope, that is not what happened. So it was like watching a recursive live learning performance over a few weeks. They were getting to know themselves, and they captured magic in a bottle from their being. And for me, one of the greatest songs ever written was born, Let It Be. For me, it's much more than a great song. The lyrics are truly words of wisdom. What do you do when things happen? When people or the news say things that upset you? In your hour of darkness, it is standing right in front of you. So stop trying to control what you don't control. Let it be. And in the end, no matter what curveball or googly life throws at you, remember you have one great power: the power of your attitude and mindset, and the freedom to exercise it. No one can take this away from you. Life is complicated, but it's also beautiful. When all else fails, in French we have an expression for accepting life as it is. C'est la vie. It is typically accompanied by a shoulder shrug. C'est la vie. For example, COVID, 110-degree weather for graduation. Yep, c'est la vie. Try it sometime. It's liberating. Each of you is special. You belong in this world, and you are part of this world. I wish you great success in being the responsible leaders that we have tried at Darden our best to prepare you to be. So to summarize, as you go forward and seek to know thyself, remember this: be, let it be, c'est la vie. It will set you free. Thank you.